You know how there are certain money rules that everyone just repeats? Like you're not really allowed to question them. One of the biggest ones is this: a Roth IRA is always better. You hear it everywhere: podcasts, YouTube, coworkers who watched one finance video and now won't shut up about it. But here's the thing: there's a point where investing in a Roth actually stops being the better choice. And once you see the math, it's one of those, wait, how did I never notice that moments? So let's talk about it for a few minutes. This whole decision really comes down to one simple question: do you want to pay taxes now, or do you want to pay taxes later? That's it. Same investing, same market, same ups and downs. The only difference is when the tax bill shows up. Before anyone jumps in with, well, it depends, yeah, it does. So instead of arguing in circles, let's just pick some reasonable numbers and walk through it. We'll assume you're putting in the maximum you're allowed to each year. Right now, that's about $7,000, and it changes over time, but that part isn't the point. The math works the same either way. So imagine this: you invest $7,000 a year, you do that for 30 years, and your money grows at about 7% per year. Nothing fancy, just long-term average stuff. If you run that math, you end up with roughly $660,000. That's the pile of money we're talking about. Now let's look at the two paths. With Roth, you pay taxes first. So if you're in a higher tax bracket, you don't just magically invest $7,000. You actually have to earn more than that, pay a chunk to taxes, and then invest what's left. For example, if you're paying around 32% in taxes, you'd need to earn a little over $10,000, pay roughly $3,000 to taxes, and then invest $7,000. With a traditional IRA, you invest the full $7,000 right away. No taxes up front. You deal with taxes later. Now, fast forward 30 years. Both accounts grow to about the same $660,000. Here's where things split. With a Roth, that money is yours. No taxes when you take it out. With the traditional IRA, the government still wants their cut. So let's say when you're retired, your overall tax bill on that money is around 22%. That means about $145,000 goes to taxes, and you're left with roughly $516,000 to actually spend. In that case, the Roth wins. But notice why it wins. Not because the Roth is magical. It wins because you avoided paying higher taxes later by paying them earlier. Now, let's zoom out for a second. Think of this like planting seeds. When you pay taxes up front, you're planting fewer seeds. When you delay taxes, you plant more seeds. And over time, those extra seeds grow into a much bigger difference than people expect. Here's the part most people never think about. When you pay taxes early, that money doesn't just disappear. It also never gets the chance to grow. And when you're in a higher tax bracket, that lost growth adds up fast. So at some point, the tax-free later benefit just isn't enough to make up for how much you gave up at the beginning. Now watch what happens when we change just one number. Let's start low. Say you're paying about 12% in taxes right now. In that case, the Roth investment looks amazing. You pay a small amount up front, and later you get to pull the money out tax-free. No surprise there. The Roth clearly wins. Now let's move up a bit. Say you're paying around 22% today. At that point, the two options are basically tied. You're paying a similar amount of tax either way, just at different times. Now here's where it gets interesting. Let's say you're paying 32% right now. That means for every $7,000 you invest into your Roth IRA, you're giving up more than $3,000 to taxes immediately. With the traditional IRA, that full $7,000 keeps growing for 30 years. When you run the math, the account that delayed taxes actually ends up giving you more spendable money in retirement. And if you're up in the mid to high 30s, that gap gets even bigger. Nothing else changed. Same contribution, same market returns, same timeline. The only thing that changed was when the taxes were paid. That's the flip. And this is the part nobody tells you because it doesn't fit on a bumper sticker. So here's the simple rule. Compare the taxes you're paying today to the taxes you'll probably pay when you're retired. Not the scary top bracket number. Just your overall tax bill, averaged out. Now let's sanity check it. What if taxes are lower when you retire, then delaying taxes becomes even more attractive. What if taxes are higher later? Then the Roth hangs on longer. The exact tipping point moves around, but the logic never changes. It's always about timing. And this is where most people mess it up. They compare today's worst-case tax rate to some imagined worst-case tax rate in retirement. But in retirement, most people don't pay high taxes on every dollar. They usually pay lower overall taxes because their income is lower and spread out. That's why people confidently pick the wrong option and never realize it. So here's the takeaway you can screenshot. If you expect to pay more taxes later, Roth usually wins. If you expect to pay less taxes later, delaying them usually wins. That's it. No buzzwords, no secret tricks. Just timing. Your situation will be different, obviously. So ask yourself two questions. How much tax am I paying right now? And how much do I realistically think I'll be paying later? This is why we actually do the math. Using real numbers will always show you a clear winner. Let me know if you have any questions, and if this helped at all, drop me a comment and let me know.